Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Buddhang dhammang sanghang namasami. It was a bit funny when I heard Ajahn Cittapala saying that I'm giving my final talk. Right. I mean, I know what he means, but it was, oh dear. Yeah. And when I look around now, I warned Ajahn Cittapala that I may get a bit tearful here in my seat. When I look around, there's really a sense of, I don't have a word for it, it's not sadness. I think it's just a sense of deep love for this place. And the shrine and everything. All the monasteries have a different shrine, have a different Dhamma hall. But I have been here for, so long. Yeah, I can't quite avoid it, that it will be a bit personal. And maybe that's also good. And many of you may know that I came to Chithurst for the first time in 94, I think. And at that time, the nuns didn't have Rojana cottage. They were living in a local cottage. And the guest accommodation was the garage, which was pretty humid. But when I came, there was no space for me, so I had to stay in a bed and breakfast in Trotten and walk for the morning pujas through the fields. And it was beautiful. And in the evening, after the evening pujas, walk back. It was in summer, so I could walk back in daylight. And I loved it so much. The whole setting. The Dhamma hall wasn't existing at that point. It was still this derelict coach house. And you can still see some of the original walls, which have been patched up and made to kind of proper wall for this building. And we had the pujas in the shrine room. And I remember I was sitting there in the evening. Morning pujas we had in the old, I don't know whether it was a horse stable or cow stable. The nuns had a little shrine room, which was a converted horse stable, probably. And it was perfect. Small, but it was perfect. and evening pujas were in the shrine room, which is still existing, with this big golden Buddha. And I remember we had the evening chanting, and I mean, I was staying at Amaravati before, and that is a very big hall, and the shrine room here is just more contained. And when we chant, the chant is quite, because the room is contained, the chanting is quite, the sound is quite intense. And when we stopped with the puja, I was sitting with the sound of silence, roaring. And I thought, what is this, Do they have a loudspeaker somehow and make this sound of silence? And then I realized, no, it must, and then I tried actually, it was in my ears, it was, yeah, so that was obviously as a lay woman. And then I started to come more often, and finally became Anagarika in 1997. And at Amaravati, I thought, but 2 weeks after my Anagarika ordination, I was ordered to come to Chithurst. And away from my friends at Amaravati. Anyway, it was a bit challenging, but I was so pleased to be in the forest, and the whole natural setting was so conducive for meditation and for just letting go and, being with whatever nature is. And I was pretty blissed out. I remember Ajahn Cittapala was seeing me on a walking path, and I was kind of responding to the light and to the trees, and he said something like, with Devaram, or something. It was very, very funny for me to hear that. Yeah, I was a little bit enchanted, I think. And then after half a year, I went back to Amaravati and basically was Anagarika and then a nun in Amaravati. And sometimes I came to Chithurst to help out here, because the nuns were very busy, and I noticed that they tried to support so much. The Dhamma hall was getting built, and there was that I thought, I should help them a little bit to that their own living places are actually more friendly. They were so much out in helping in the monastery that I felt I can make their living situation a bit better. So, yeah, I helped out a few times, and then eventually Ajahn Metta, when she was the senior nun here, she asked me sometimes to help, because she was visiting family or friends or doing teachings in summer, so I came often for a few months in summer to, look after the guests and emails and whatever needed to be done. And then when Ajahn Metta left, the question is who can do it? And Ajahn Chandasiri and I decided, I didn't quite have the confidence to do it completely on my own, So Ajahn Cittapala and myself, we took turns to come once a month for a long weekend to help the guest assistant to hold things together. And, there were no nuns here at all, only guests. And then Ajahn Cittapala was more involved in Miltium, in her hermitage in Scotland, had started there, and her presence was needed there, so I had to do then my once a monthly week here to hold things together as good as I could. And otherwise, the other 3 weeks I did my duties at Amaravati, so I had a bit of a double life, and it was very stressful. And then eventually I asked to stay for the Vasa here, and then for the winter retreat. And then finally I said I will settle over completely. And I think I'm here completely since 2018. But I was the only nun, and sometimes there was an anagarika, sometimes not, sometimes there was another nun coming. And there was one woman who was the caretaker, and sometimes we had a guest assistant, so that helped. But it was always changing, and when you are the only one who knows the place, you have a lot of responsibilities. And maybe I needed that. So looking at it from now, I think I took on much more than I could hold. But in a way, I don't know, it was a training. I had to just really give up what I liked and what I don't like, and just do what was needed, And so I think in some ways it really knocked me a little out of my preferences, and anyway. And eventually it became more obvious that it was too much, and I tried to convince the nuns in Amaravati to come over and, help out or take over, and it wasn't quite ready. And I'm so relieved that just before the Vasa, Sister Jnana Siri has come together with Sister Vidura to take things on, but with the support of the Amaravati nuns. So it's not longer kind of independent nuns community, but it's one community with two places, so they don't have the feeling that they have to hold it on their own, which is actually really good in this situation. And I have offered during the Vasa to give transmission, and but I stepped back, I think 1st of August or something around that time, so that they could really exercise their leading position. And that was very interesting, because I was used to decide, and suddenly they decided, and I was confronted with what they decided, and oops, they could have asked me at least. Anyway, so I had to learn, to appreciate what they decided. And there was also discussion. It's actually getting really good, because we have really a flowing sense of, okay, the phase at the moment is that things get reorganized in the rooms. The cupboards somewhere else, a tea station here and not there, and I come into the kitchen in the morning and I don't know where are the tea bags? Where's the kettle? Where's this? Everything is somewhere else. And the cupboards are reorganized. So it takes much longer, but it's funny. I must say, we are, especially when, after living so long, and, as the kind of senior nun who decided where is what, change. Change is not always, if you don't like it, change is great. If we feel comfortable with how things are, change is irritating, I would say. But I can also see the beauty in, how to say that? I can have actually a real joy that they make their own decisions now. And it's a little bit like a game. You turn around and when you look back, things have changed. So I thought, oh good, for an aging brain, this is what an aging brain needs. We get so kind of fixed. And I need to exercise my neuroplasticity. and just, okay, that keeps me young. So, it's playful. I mean, not to dismiss that I can be slightly irritated when I just can't find the black tea bags. Or I open the cupboard and there's something completely different inside the cupboard. Okay, but I'm reassured. Things can be changed again, and it's actually when you start to change things, it looks good, maybe, it really looks good. But it's not always functional, and so we need to learn. And I must say I enjoy the aliveness of it. When you are alone in a place, things become a little bit stuck. And so it's good. And that I have said, I will go to Amaravati and after the Vasa, because it's good for them to exercise their leading qualities and not have me as a senior nun always saying, we don't have... Anyway, so I know everything better, of course, but do I? Anyway, so... I'm really glad that I can leave, and I'm not responsible any longer. You can't imagine how good that feels. What a relief! And I can really see. I don't know whether I can say I've done that too long, but it was a real drag sometimes. And I did what I could, and my intention was to keep this place for the nuns, and not to leave and then, well, we can give it temporarily to the monks when there are no nuns. But what happened with Hartridge Monastery when the nuns left? So it's a monk's place now. It's not a nun's place any longer. It was said in the beginning, oh, the nuns can come back. No way, and that's how it is. So in that sense, I have a sense of comfort that things have worked out. And I really, really wish them well for the continuation of, what they are doing. And I think they are good. So I hope that they get support from the monks and from the lay people, because that's important, And I'm really grateful for the lay people when Ajahn Metta left. They didn't know me really very well, but they were so friendly and so supportive that my lonely position kind of was really backed up by your support and friendliness and asking whether I need anything. It's amazing, you know. And Dhamma discussions, we had the Tuesday talks regularly. I couldn't keep that up, and then with the changing community, I couldn't, how to say, I couldn't ask the nuns to always prepare, and Thursday dana also always prepare. So it has kind of thinned out. But we will have our last Thursday dana coming Thursday. And also very nice, Sister Nyana Siri, who's now the kind of, she says she's not a senior nun, so she is just the older nun of two leading nuns. She is Thai, and she didn't like the Buddha statue, the central Buddha statue in the nun's shrine room, because it's a kind of standing Buddha, and she said, oh, that's like in Thai restaurants, you know. It's not the, anyway, it's sparkly and everything, but it's the Buddha we had since I know Chithurst, and I love it, and it has this kind of embracing quality. I find, maybe especially because I'm was often the only nun, it was really supporting. But we got given another Buddha Rupa last, I looked at the photos, it was December 23, and it's beautiful, and it's standing on the side because it's so heavy that we couldn't put it on the shrine table. The shrine table is lightly built, and so I always looked for somebody who may be able to make a more solid shrine table that we can put the 300 kilo sandstone Buddha on it. And finally, Chris Matthews, our forest manager, got going with it. We found good, strong wood from the wood store, and he's in the process of finishing it and will come on Tuesday and set it up, and they will do the magic and get the Buddha Rupa on top of it. We can only chant. And then we have, after the Thursday Dana, we have a kind of shrine, new shrine table, new central Buddha ceremony. And that is really nice. So that is somehow going back to Sister Nyana Siri's initiative somehow. So she's strong. And so I'm glad that we can do that as a goodbye ceremony and welcoming ceremony for her. And then for the next nuns who come, I don't know, they haven't decided how long they stay, so that will be a decision of the nuns community, the whole nuns community. So yeah, and I must say, of course I couldn't do it on my own, but the monks have been so supportive. Sister, if you need anything, just let us know. Whether it was work meeting, digging us out when we had floods and everything was clogged, the trenches were filled up with debris, and we were just wading through water. So sometimes it's hard work. That is a place which is much more exposed the forces of nature in terms of flooding and erosion and trees coming down. So we couldn't do it on our own. So it's a real wider community effort to be able to live there. So, and I see our different. Forest manager is very important. Maintenance manager, it's a whole group of people who actually know what to do and how to do it. And we learn so much which we would never have learned, in terms of maintenance and doing things ourselves, garden stuff. It's a real life training. And I must say, I was offered to go earlier back to Amaravati, and apart from that, I didn't want to leave this place without nuns holding it. I also when you live so close to nature and so close to the forest, nature is so supportive in a way which is very difficult to explain. I mean, you can see here the Dhamma hall. You have the pillars, and the pillars are kind of symbol of strength, and it's not just a symbol in the mind, it's actually their presence of strength and holding and supporting. And so when I looked at the Dhamma hall at the beginning of the talk, I'm really moved by the language of this hall, and I remember when we had the opening of the Dhamma hall, I think the architect was here, and also the man who is doing the, how do you say, I don't know that, the craftsman who has crafted the beams, kind of local, I don't know how local, but they said they were walking through the forest and said, so this tree and this tree has the right kind of branches. So they actually cut some trees, especially for Dhamma hall, with the right kind of branches. And so, they look much more with the kind of arching branches, much more natural and forest-like. And for a forest monastery, it's a beautiful architecture. Also the end of the hall with the kind of oak construction. Anyway, I have a real love for this place. And there's a thoughtfulness which has gone into this place. From Ajahn Cittapala, from, I don't know, I don't know everyone, but it's... So I would like to express my gratitude for the time I have been here and have been supported and inspired by talks and by example and by, it's not always, we have little clashes and this and that and the other, but the way it was held was always enabling us to grow, and not feel crushed. So that is an enormous skill in a community. And when I look around, I see Jagara. Anyway, I don't want to go through the names, but thank you all very much for your support, for your practice, for your good example, for your failings and catching up. It was a wonderful learning together. And if I have, upset anybody or disappointed or whatever, that is what happens in community life, but we have the ability to ask for forgiveness. So please forgive me for my failings. And, I think I'm good-natured, but sometimes you say something and it doesn't arrive. We have different perceptions of how we hear things and can be painful. So, So I wish all of us a wonderful Katina tomorrow, which is another celebration of this place and what this place can offer, and what practicing Buddhists can offer together, And so I end this talk with it. Thank you for listening.